connecting the story of Moses and the burning bush to the acacia bush and the acacia tree, which is rich in DMT. And they believed that what that story might have been about, of Moses coming down from Mount Sinai with the tablets and having the experience with meeting God in the burning bush, that what this is in fact was a dimethyltryptamine experience.
Okay. There are a few often repeated myths and sound bites within the psychedelic community, and this is one which I think is one of the silliest. So I thought I'd have a bit of fun by debunking this logistically impractical narrative that the biblical story of Moses and the burning bush is actually about a DMT trip. Did you know acacia trees grow in the Middle East? Did you know that acacia contains DMT? Moses was smoking DMT, brah. Now, I'm not a Christian, so it's not like this offends me because of God or some shit. It's simply that as a DMT smoking psychonaut, then I recognise how implausible this theory is. And almost any psychonaut who's ever smoked DMT would recognise the same thing if they just climbed down a few rungs from the woo-woo ladder and thought about it rationally for about 2 seconds. But clearly this is something that needs unpacking so that we can put it to bed, and I figured I was the right man for the job. So let's get into it. I just want to kick this video off by saying, I get it. It is a lot of fun to join the dots between modern events that we can relate to with events that seem mystical or otherworldly, particularly when the source of that otherworldliness has religious undertones. And this is fairly obvious in the mainstream culture by the success of awesome classic movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark, or cinematic dog shit like The Da Vinci Code. From these examples, despite the differences in quality, we can conclude that mystical stuff, particularly biblically themed mystical stuff, really captures our imagination. And that brings us to the subject of today's video, which is something that seems to always pop up in conversations around psychedelics and DMT, as though it's one of the greatest mysteries ever, when in reality, it's kind of fucking stupid. And it's the idea that biblical characters, in particular Moses, smoked DMT. So what we're talking about here is the biblical story of the burning bush and how it became one of those new age memes along with pineal glands and other bits of nonsense. But here's a quick recap for anyone who managed to avoid Bible class. In the book of Exodus, the character Moses has climbed up a mountain where he encounters a burning bush, and through this bush he hears the voice of God, which instructs him to confront the Egyptian pharaoh and tell him to stop acting like a complete twat. Anyway, fast forward 2,000 years, and now we have lots of people, myself included, having our own little chats with supernatural entities, courtesy of DMT. And because of the internet facilitating the spread of quotable memes, then it was only a matter of time before some genius put 2 and 2 together and decided that the bush in question must have been an acacia bush, because an acacia contains DMT, and the bush was on fire, and people who inhale DMT smoke have the experience of being in dialogue with, well, God. Now, at surface level, this sounds perfectly reasonable, and this would not be a bad theory if not for one small detail. The process of getting high on DMT is a logistical pain in the fucking arse that doesn't just conveniently happen by accident. I mean, let's be real now, people. For anyone who's actually smoked DMT and had one of these legendary breakthroughs, just take a moment to think carefully about the logistics of how that transcendent hyperdimensional experience occurred. Did it happen by just casually walking near a smouldering bit of foliage out in an open space? Or did it happen by having an extracted, purified form of the exact chemical you needed, which you then precisely heated up to the correct temperature, knowing that exceeding that temperature would destroy the very substance you're looking to consume, and then concentrating the resulting vapour either through a glass pipe or electronic vaping device in order to deliver that substance into your bloodstream within the space of about a minute? Which one of those two scenarios sounds most likely to induce a DMT trip? But surely there is some DMT in the smoke, so while it's unlikely, then maybe it could have happened. Well, there are a few challenges, such as getting close enough to a burning tree without your face melting off, and managing to concentrate all the dispersing smoke in one place, and then inhaling that smoke along with multiple grams of scorching particulates to get the 2% of DMT that it contains, all without choking to death. So sure, I guess it's not impossible, but I think it's safe to say it didn't happen that way. Another good piece of evidence is that there are places today in the Americas where Mimosa hostilis, one of the plants which contains the highest amounts of natural DMT, is commonly burned as firewood in people's homes, and no one has ever reported tripping balls on it.
If you go to the south of Mexico in Chiapas, there's a tree that grows there as a weed called Mimosa hostilis. And this is so abundant that it's used to make fence posts. All the fences on the side of the road are made of Mimosa hostilis. It's used as firewood to cook meals. The air smells like DMT because people are using it as fuel all over the place. Not a single person that I spoke with was aware that it was psychoactive. And these are people that are burning it all the time.
And in recent years, we all saw news reports of the Amazon jungle on fire, which also contains plants rich in DMT as used in the ayahuasca brew. And even with this mighty blaze, this didn't result in an outbreak of wannabe religious prophets. Well, I mean, no more than the usual amount. So please, Joe Rogan, do me a favour, mate, and put this particular theory to bed. And before anyone chimes in with, why are you hating on Joe Rogan, bruh? I'm not hating on Joe Rogan. I'm being critical of something that came out of his mouth, while saying nothing about the rest of his character. I actually like Joe Rogan, and I'm engaging with something he said, which takes more effort than just mindlessly regurgitating it as though it was some fundamental truth. Now, there is another angle to this DMT burning bush narrative, so I just want to offer that perspective, because there are some folks within the psychedelic community who would say that this story is not supposed to be taken literally, and that it's actually a way of mythologically encoding the information that the acacia tree contains DMT in a way that can be easily passed down through story and embedded into cultural tradition. It's symbolic rather than literal. And to those people, I absolutely agree. I have no problem with that theory at all, and I think this is indeed probably what we're looking at here. So just like we see throughout many ancient traditions, with practical information being encoded into myth. But that's not what I'm addressing here. I'm addressing the people who take this DMT burning bush thing 100% literally and at face value. And wasn't that always the problem with the Bible and organised religion, that people took it as literal truth without looking for the deeper meaning? Anyway, if you do want to know how to have a breakthrough experience on DMT, then don't go reading the Bible, simply go and watch one of my excellent guide videos, which I will link to up there somewhere. Holy shit, how many YouTubers can honestly crowbar in that kind of like shameless self-promotion? Don't read the Bible, go watch my video about smoking DMT. It's like the best marketing tagline ever. And on that blasphemous bombshell, I'm gonna wrap this up. If you enjoyed this video, then do the usual like and subscribe shit, because that helps me out. And if there's any other nuggets of psychedelic dogma that you would like to see debunked, then let me know in the comments below. If you want to see me having some fascinating conversations with my fellow PsychTubers, then subscribe to my second channel, which is called just Psychonautica. I've got some great stuff coming out, so go check that out. And yeah, that's about it. So I will see you next time.